Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials on any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com.
So what are the basic Ansible architecture? So it has four components as I have mentioned. First is the inventory file, second is the module, third is API, and fourth is plugin. What is inventory file? Inventory file is nothing but a file where you will be putting all your client information like IPs of your client machine. Module is nothing but inbuilt Python files. Those will be used to perform some tasks. API will be used to communicate with the cloud environment. Plugins will extend your Ansible's functionality, like caching is one kind of plugin. CMDB is nothing but a configuration management database from where you can pull the predefined configuration that your organization have. And this all tasks will be performed on the host. So this is like basic Ansible architecture that we are looking. Now, you might be wondering, I have explained so much about like Ansible is a agentless, and we need not to install any package in the backend, like any package on the client machine. So how this Ansible is gonna work? If we are not installing anything on the client machine, how this Ansible is gonna work with the clients? How it is going to make some changes? Okay. So only there are two requirements to work with Ansible. So first thing is you need to have a passwordless SSH. Now let me go ahead and first let me tell you what passwordless SSH means. Okay, so let me just tell you what the passwordless SSH means. So whenever, let's say this is your controller machine, okay, and let's say this controller machine is talking with some, let's say 500 servers. Okay, so I'll just draw three servers. So let's say this is my controller node. Okay, this is my controller node, and you can also call this as a master node. And let's say this is my client one. So for client one, C1, client two, client three. Okay, so let's say those are all the servers, those are required. Okay, so what happens, as I'm mentioning, I will be installing Ansible on this particular master machine only, on this controller node. Okay, on this controller node I will be installing Ansible. Now how this will work? So first thing is it communicates with the nodes using the SSH protocol. Okay, so this master node or controller will communicate with your client machine using the SSH protocol. So first thing is SSH should be enabled on all of your machines, and port 22 by default 22 port is used for SSH, and that should be opened in all of your firewall. Okay, if there is some specific port in SSH, like you can also configure a specific port for SSH in your environment, so that you want to make more secure, like hardening your environment. So in that way, you will have to open that particular port in your firewall. So for now, we'll be only talking about 22, since it is the by default port that SSH uses. So first thing is you will have to open the 22 port on your security groups or your firewall, so that this can communicate, because master will be using SSH protocol to talk with the clients. Now the second thing what I am mentioning is the passwordless SSH. So what is passwordless SSH? So SSH means nothing but this master can talk with this client machine. So that's it. SSH means nothing but, so whenever we try to communicate with some server, so SSH means nothing but this by some protocol, this master can take login into this particular client machine. So why do we require this passwordless SSH? So first of all, we'll need to understand how the authentication happens. Okay, so whenever you try to do SSH, so what happens? Whenever you try to do SSH, there can be two ways. Like there are multiple ways, but we'll be discussing two ways here. So first way is like password based. So you can think this as a password based authentication. And second thing you can think is passwordless or key based authentication. Okay, so second thing you can think of it as passwordless or key based authentication. Okay, so So password-based authentication you all might have heard, because whenever you try to do SSH to some server, whenever you run some command SSH root @ let's say server1, whenever you run this and whenever you press enter, it will ask for some password. Okay, it will ask for some password. So this is password-based authentication. So this user, you must know the password of this user, and you will input that password, and that is how you will be able to access the server. So that is fine. The password-based authentication is simple. You will give the username and it will ask for password, and once you provide the password, the authentication will happen based on the password. That is perfectly fine. But what about this passwordless or key-based authentication? So the need of having this passwordless or key-based authentication is simple. Since I am mentioning that Ansible is a configuration management tool, Ansible is an automation tool. So when I say automation, so that means everything in the backend should happen automatically. There should not be any human intervention while we are running some task, while we are running some playbook. There should not be any human intervention. Otherwise, what will be the use of that automation if every time I want to put some password to enter in your client machine? Okay, so for that we require this passwordless or key-based authentication. Now let's discuss how this thing is gonna work. Okay. So this will cover your passwordless or key-based authentication. So this will cover your how the authentication happens in the Ansible itself. So what happens when in passwordless or key-based authentication? What happens? This particular, let's say this is a master node or a controller node. So you fire some command. So that command is nothing but your SSH.
Hey viewers, our Master in DevOps engineering program can help you to hone the skills necessary to succeed in high-level DevOps positions. So what are you waiting for? Enroll now and earn certification that show you are keeping pace with today's technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Keygen. So we will be doing the demo, so it will be more clear to you. So when you fire this command SSH-keygen, it generates a symmetric pair of keys. Okay, so I am mentioning key-based authentication. So it generates a symmetric pair of keys. So first key is primary. You can say the private keys. So first thing you can say as a private keys, and second thing you can say is a public keys. Okay, public key. So what happens whenever you fire this command SSH-keygen, it generates two types of key. First is private key and second is public key. Now, what is the use of having two keys? So these keys are nothing but they are symmetric keys. So these are called as symmetric keys. So what is this symmetric keys? Are nothing but whenever these keys you can think of like they can identify each other. So like that you can think of. So what happens? This master now have two keys. One is public key, so I will calling PU for public key, and second is private key, so I will be calling PR as a private key. So what will happen? This master node will provide this public key to all over the world or wherever it want to connect. So it will provide this public key to the client machines. Now this client machine will store in some file. It will store this public key. Okay. So that all your client machine should have your master's key. Okay, so master's public key. So all your client machine like client 1, client 2, client 3, so client 100, all your client machine should have the public key of your master. Now whenever I am talking about key-based authentication, what happens? This master now uses the private key. And checks with the clients. Okay, whenever this authentication happen, what happens? It uses this private key and it checks with client. Hey boss, I want to connect with you. Now this client will check if it has the public key of this master. Okay, it will check if it has the public key of this master. Now what happens? This private key and public key are now verified. Now this private key and public key are verified, and this is how you are authenticated, and this is how you will be authorized some resources, and you will gain the access of your client machine. So to summarize this process, whenever I fire some command like SSH-keygen, it generates two keys. One is private key, one is public key. Now I will share the public key with all my clients, and now public key is present in my client machine in one file, and I'll be demonstrating that definitely. And whenever I want to run some command like Ansible playbook or something like that, and this master want to communicate with the client, So it will be using this private key, and by using this private key, as I have already mentioned, that private key and public key will understand each other. Okay, so every server will have the unique key, unique public key and unique private key. So now it will use this private key to get authenticate with the client. And once if the public this client will check in his files if it has the public key for this particular master, it will verify with that private key that yes, okay, this is like a symmetric key pair, and they are made with they are like they are able to authenticate, and they are, and this is how you will get the access of your client machine. So this is the basic thing that happens in the backend. So for now, let's go ahead and create one EC2 instance. So that I'll be able to show whatever I am talking here. So you will be able to show. You will be able to see how this thing happen. So I'm just logging into my AWS account. So creating like AWS account is pretty straightforward, and it is free for 1 year. So there are some free tiers that you can use to create your own infrastructure. Okay. So whenever you want to create the virtual machine, so AWS provide EC2 as a service. So EC2 is a service that you can use to create the virtual machines for your users. Okay, so I'll just quickly go ahead and I'll tell you how you can create some machines. Okay, so I'll be creating my machines in US is2 regions. Okay, I'll be creating some machines in my US2 is2 regions. So let me go ahead and quickly create one machine for you. Okay, so this is how you'll be able to understand how to create the instance on. So instance is nothing but a virtual machine. Okay, virtual machine. So I'm just, when I'm saying launch instance, I have went into EC2 instances. I'm saying launch instance. So when I'm clicking launch instance, it will provide you some AMI. So what is AMI? AMI is nothing but image that you want to use. So you might have created the virtual machine in the past also. So for this time, let's say I'm selecting this Red Hat Linux machine, Red Hat Linux image. Now you will be able to see that there are free tier eligible. So what does this free tier eligible means? So as I mentioned, AWS provides you 1 year of free subscription. By using that, you can create your own machines. You can create virtual machine, and it has like limited access. So I'm just selecting this Red Hat free tier eligible image to create my machine. Now it will ask you to choose an instance type. So what is instance type? Instance type is nothing but let's say, so this is free tier eligible, right? So instance type is nothing but how much memory and resources will be allocated. So 1 CPU and 1 GB RAM will be allocated to this particular instance or VM, and this is free tier eligible. So I'm just choosing that because I don't have much hardware requirement. So I'm just choosing free tier. Now here there will be lots of information about networking, but let's keep we are not creating any VPC or private networking, so let's keep as it is, and let's go ahead and add some storage. So in storage section, you will notice that already something is added, and you will be able to see that free eligible customer can get 30 GB of SSD. So I will not be adding any extra storage. I will be just keeping 10 GB because that is enough for me. Next thing is tags that I don't want to use, so I will be skipping that thing. Now next thing is security group. So this is very important thing. Security group is like your firewall. So whatever port you will mention here, that will be opened, and it will, through that you will be able to communicate. Now this AWS is already very intelligent, and it has got that we have selected Linux image. That means we will be connecting using SSH. So it has already opened the port 22 for my operations. Now you can add multiple ports.
Hey viewers, trying to get into DevSecOps? Enroll for our DevSecOps certified professional programs and earn the certification that shows you are fit for these technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
You can add, let's say you want to have 80 port, you can add 80 port, you can say anywhere, and then you can also add HTTPS port. Okay, so you can choose from here. You can choose any, let's say if you want to choose HTTP, so it will by default add 80. When you choose HTTPS, so it will be adding 443 by default. Okay, you can choose. So this is like a firewall. So I'm just creating my new security group. So security group is nothing but a firewall that I'm creating. So I'm just saying SG demo, and you can give any name. Okay, so I'm just saying SG demo 26th of December. So that's it. Okay, you can give any name. So this is just for your understanding that you have created some security group here. So I'm just giving the same description, and I have added HTTP and HTTPS ports. Let's review and launch. Let's review and launch, and let's click on launch. So once you click on launch, it will generate some key pair. Now this key pair is really important because it will be used when you will try to log in and when you will try to take the SSH of your machine. So let me give it as a name as a Ansible master. Okay, let me give it as a name as an Ansible master. So this will be key use while I am trying to log into my server. So some key is downloaded in my downloads folder. Let's say launch instance. Okay, launch instance, and it is saying something filled in the security. Okay, so let us give. So there are actually some things that you have to mention. So like numbers and all are not like some things that you have to keep in mind while you name the security group and all. So let me check if it is now. I acknowledge and let me see. Yeah, creating security group. Yeah, this is how it will be created. Okay, so we have to just like there are several things that you have to think of while you create some machines and like security group name and all. So that is fine. Let me just name it quickly as a Ansible master. Okay, Ansible master. So this will be the node where I'll be installing all my things. Okay, so let me quickly install one more node by and this will be my client machine. So we cannot be I will not be demonstrating on 500 server, but I will be demonstrating on 2 servers. So for that I'm just creating this particular thing. So this time I will just choose my existing uh, I'll just choose my existing security group, so which is that one. Let me just check that one first. So how we can check that? You can go to the EC2 dashboard. This is my machine, Ansible master. In security section, you will be able to see in security section, you will be able to see which security group it is using. So it is using HG demo 26 December. So this is the security group that is present. So the name of that security group is this one. So you can use anything. I'm just using this particular thing here. And let me just quickly create that thing. Also you can create any number of security group that you want. Okay, so that is your choice, and this is like just an extension to our topic, so I won't be diverting this particular thing to the AWS section. So I'll just quickly create here uh, I'll just quickly select and just let me create it one more time. So let me say sg new sg new sg new. Let me say review and launch, and let's launch it. I'll be using the same key. Okay, so it will launch another instance for me. So let me just quickly create. So this is how you can create your slave machine. So let me call it a slave machine 1. And so this is how you can create your slave machine. So now let's go ahead and let me tell you how this thing is gonna work. Okay, how this thing is gonna work. So what happens, as I have mentioned, whenever this Ansible you are providing some commands, so it will use SSH and it will use key-based authentication to talk with this particular nodes. Okay, so let's go ahead and quickly understand how to install Ansible on your node. Okay, so let's get started with we have covered Ansible architecture, and let's get started with the Ansible. Okay, let's get started with the Ansible. So as I have mentioned, uh, as I have mentioned how to install the Ansible. So create a EC2 instance. Step 1 is done. So I have created one EC2 instance, and after that you have to install the Ansible. So how to install the Ansible? So you might be aware like there are lots of operating systems or Linux distributions that are available, right? So how to make sure that you install the correct package, or you install the correct package for your uh, Ansible. Okay, so you can simply put here install Ansible. So this is what you can put. If you put that, it will land you up to the official documentation. Now in here you will directly find the command, so you can choose any version you want. So I'll be keeping my version as 2.9, and here you can see that this particular page of installation of Ansible, which is a official documentation, so it has all the command for the Ubuntu, the Debian, FreeBSD, macOS, Solaris, Arch Linux. So anywhere you can install. Okay. So since I have created rail machine, so I'll be going ahead with the rail machine. Okay. And so command is simple, like installing Ansible. And here for Ubuntu, it will be apt update, apt software properties -common, apt add repository, and then apt install. So for any of OS that you are using, you can refer to this page. Like I do have a ready-made commands of rail, but I wanted to show you this page so that in future, if you require to install on some other OS, you can definitely check this particular documentation, and as per your requirement, you can make use of that. Okay. So let's go ahead and take the SSH of this particular node. So taking SSH is quite simple. Just you have to press on this connect, and you have to go on your SSH client. Okay. You have to go on your SSH client, and you will find something like that. So just you have to copy this thing, and let me just quickly open my terminal. So let me just quickly open my terminal. Okay. All right. So let me just full screen it so it will be properly visible for you. So let me just make it a full screen. All right. So let me just raise the font for you. So, and my key is downloaded inside this particular download folder. And whenever you want to use the key, you have to give some 600 permission. So that is mentioned on your web page also, like when you want to connect to this particular instance. So it is mentioned in your web page also that you have to.
Hey viewers, are you looking for formal training on SRE practices? Take our SRE program. This course will teach you how to successfully implement site reliability engineering in the modern day 24/7 services. Kickstart your SRE training today. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Make sure that it will say like 400, you have to give to your master PEM file. Okay. So I'm just copying this particular permission. So I'm doing nothing actually. I'm just changing my permission for my key file. So it is required because no other user should be able to use this key. Only the user that have downloaded this particular key should be able to use this. So that's why I'm nullifying this permission for other users. Okay. So only owner will have this particular permission on this master key. Now let's go ahead and simply just try to take the login of your machine. So I'm just trying to log in into my machine. So it is asking, do you want to log in? Yes, I want to connect. And simply you will be inside your machine. Okay, so let me become the root here. So sudo su command you will be used and you will be become root. So I'm inside my AWS machine, AWS master machine. So let me go ahead and tell you that when you want to install the Ansible, it requires some extra repository in case of REP or any in any case, because this Ansible package is a third party tool. So it is by default is not provided by your Linux repository. So you can enable the repository by using some FL package. So FL package is nothing but enabling, so it will give some extra packages. So this FL RPM is nothing but a package which will be able to, you will be able to access some more repository. So why I am using this? Why I am using this? If I go here and if I simply run the command dnf install Ansible, okay, dnf install Ansible. If I run this command, what will happen? It will try to check if there are some packages or not, and it will return you some error. It will show you that there is no package Ansible. Okay, why? Because this Ansible is by default not provided by your default OS or default repository. So you have to add some extra repository which will be provided by, like, this EPL is a package for your RHEL and Fedora based distribution. So you'll be able to see no match found for Ansible, right? So to install Ansible, you have to first enable the repositories. To enable that repository, I am just firing this command, and it will just install one package, FL package. So I'm just saying yes to install it. And now if I run the same command, dnf install Ansible, now you will see it is going and checking some extra packages. It is checking some extra packages. Now this time it is checking some extra packages, and this is how it will be now able to find the Ansible package. So let me just say yes, and it will be installing the Ansible for you. Okay. So installing Ansible is pretty straightforward process. You have to just in 2-3 commands you will be able to install the Ansible. So you'll be able to see that it is installing Ansible 2.9. Okay. So once Ansible is installed, you can simply run the command Ansible version. So this is how you can confirm if your Ansible is installed or not. Okay, so that is fine. We have successfully installed the Ansible. Now let's go ahead and generate the keys. Okay, so for this particular thing, I won't be using root user. Okay, I won't be using root user. So for me, my Ansible user will be EC2 user. So what is the Ansible user? So Ansible user means nothing but you can give permission to any user, and using that user, you will be able to log into your client machine and you will be able to perform the task as needed. Because you might be aware that whenever you take some messages, you will require some user. So that's why I'm just using this EC2 user. And let's check if I do have some keys already here. So if I check .ssh folder ls.ssh, you will be able to see there is only one file, that is authorized keys, nothing else. I don't have any keys. So how to generate the keys? As I mentioned, when I fire the ssh-keygen command, it will generate a keygen form. Okay, it will generate some keygen form. I want to generate it inside my SSH directory only, so I won't be modifying that. So I'm just pressing enter here. I don't want to give any passphrase, so I'm just pressing enter. Don't want to give any passphrase, and this is how you will be able to see that something has been created. Now how to check? So you have to just fire the same command ls.ssh. So you will be able to see earlier when I was firing the same command, there was no keys present, but now there are two keys present. id._rsa, id_rsa.pop. Now what is this RSA thing that you might be thinking of? So this is nothing but you will be able to see this particular thing is generating some RSA keys. Now what is RSA? RSA is nothing but one algorithm that they have created to create a symmetric keys. So this is how like successfully we have created two keys. Okay, so that this is the key that I was talking. One is the private key. So if I cat this particular private key, cat ssh id.rsa, you will be able to see it is clearly mentioning it is open ssh private key. Okay, it is open ssh private key. So this one is private key. And how does the public key look like? Let us check that also. ssh id rsa.pub. Okay, so this is my public key. Now for understanding purpose, let's name this particular host as a master, so that on later stages you won't, because there will be two terminals and we should not get confused. So I am using this host name ctl. So this is like a command to set your host name of your node. So let me just give it as a name as a Ansible master, so that on later stages I will be able to understand this is my Ansible master. Now this command you have to run using sudo because it requires the permissions. Let me just exit from this server and re-log into this server. And now you will be able to see that earlier it was showing some IP-172 something like that. Okay, but now it is showing Ansible master. So I have successfully changed my name. So this will be the master node for me. Now let's go ahead and check if the second instance is ready or not. Okay, so this slave machine is also ready. So let us try to connect to that. Okay, let us try to connect to that. So just I am opening one new session. Okay, I am just opening one new session here. Let me just raise a font for you. Let me just go to download folder because my key is in download folder, and I'm simply trying to use the same key, and it is asking, do you want to continue? Yes, I want to continue. And simply this is how you will be able to log in inside your slave node. Now let me name this particular slave as slave node. Okay, so let me name it as a hostname cdl set hostname, so that on later stage I should not get confused with the names. Set hostname, and what should be the hostname? I want it as name to be Ansible slave. Okay, again what you have to do, you have to fire the command with sudo. You have to exit once and you have to relog in, and you will be able to see that new name has successfully, like the name has been changed successfully. Okay, so let me name it as a slave1 because we will be creating another machine also. Relog in it, and you will be able to see successfully it has named slave2. Okay, you can check by using this command hostname, and it will show you that the hostname is Ansible slave1. So similarly, let me just create one more machine quickly. I'll create that in the backend so that we don't waste our time on that. I have already explained how we create the machines. So quickly just going into launch instance. Let me select this red hat here. Let me select this red hat. I want this T2 micro only. Let me just go ahead, next storage, next configure, select existing, and let me select this thing, SG demo. Let me say review and launch. I'll be choosing keys, and this is how like simply we can in 2 minutes we can create the instances here. Okay, and let me just name it as a Ansible slave 2. So we are just trying to make use of our infrastructure. So Ansible slave 2, Ansible slave 2. Okay, so Ansible slave 2, Ansible slave 1, and master node. So we have successfully installed Ansible on only one server, that is Ansible master. Now what we have to do? Okay, so as I was mentioning that on your master node. So let me just go ahead on my master node. Okay, so this is my master node. Let me see if I have a connection. I can check by using this host name. Okay, so there are actually two ways to copy the key of this particular node to your client machine. So first one is SSH-copy ID. Okay, and you can provide any server name like root @ your other server that you can provide. But the thing is, it will require the password. And
Thanks for watching. Want to study further? Join our training programs today.